One for all for one.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be answering the questions from the 5k subscriber Q&A, or, post your questions video. And also we're going to look at, I posted on Discord today, basically, is there any other questions that people want answered? That turned into a bit of a discussion about random stuff, but I think there's a few questions that we can find in there as well. I'm just going to check, is the recording good? It is good. So, first of all, before we do any of that, just to let you know, there's been a few little changes. So if you see up here, these are pretty much all of my social media stuff. I have updated it, so that's my Twitter. The Twitter is, I don't really use it that much. It's basically there just to tell you if a video has been uploaded. Google Plus, I don't use, but it's there if you want to check out some stuff. Gaming music, this is pretty much the playlist I listen to when I play games, if I'm not listening to stuff on Discord. And then we have War Thunder Live, which is my War Thunder Live account, my Twitch, and then now my Instagram. And my Instagram's a bit different. It's just going to be random stuff, one picture a day, and it's just going to be stuff that I get up to. It doesn't have to be technically War Thunder related or World War II related, but there will be stuff in there. It's just, just one picture a day just to see how it is. So if you're interested in that, go and give that a follow. But I understand if you're not. I mean, it's just random rubbish, to be honest. Moving on, if you were looking for recommendations for other channels, always just go to interesting channels. I update it quite regularly with the stuff that I'm interested in. It is kind of annoying that some of these guys don't really upload that much, or haven't recently, like Crouching Walrus, who was one of my early inspirations for everything. It's very sad that, you're talking about 2 years ago at this point. I really wish he came back, but, if it isn't for him, it isn't for him. Everything else is a little bit of everything. Circon World of Tanks, Fubar does historical stuff, Tank Nuke Dave, obviously World War II, or just tanks in general. Spitflyer for your War Thunder highlights. Kali I Am, who does Men of War stuff mainly. LS, who does League of Legends reviews, and as a coach, he's very inspiring. Not just about League of Legends, but he has general tips for the majority of games. So a lot of stuff that helped me with my War Thunder stuff is actually picked up from him when he's talking about League of Legends, because they can literally be copied over. Best Film Archives, if you don't know about this channel, it pretty much just has tons of old footage from different educational films or stuff like that, and it's pretty much, just all over the place with all the interesting films it has. It's really worth a watch if you want to have a look at specific things, like little documentaries or propaganda stuff that was made through the war. It really gives you an insight on what was going on. And then Cased is a dingo, which has been in some of my videos before, but he's just started his own little channel, and I'm sure there'll be more stuff to come on it. So, if you want recommendations, this is pretty much where it's at when it comes to stuff. And also people I make videos with, so people like Tiger Frost, Scottish Koala, all of those lads are wonderful and great for content as well if you're looking for mainly War Thunder stuff. But anyway, let's get into the actual questions themselves. Just as a disclaimer, YouTube, in general, when it comes to comments, sometimes decides that specific comments or certain users, when they post their comments, they're invisible. And if your comment has not appeared on this, I apologize, but there's nothing I can do about it, because it's not in the spam folder, it's not in the held for review folder, it's literally just disappeared. And all I can say is I apologize, and if there is, a question you want to ask, maybe the better way to do it, if you can't do it on YouTube or it doesn't appear in this video, would be to do it on Discord, since, it can't be censored there or anything like that. But let's get into it. So, good old Green starts with, how is Bernard doing? That is the correct spelling of Bernard, and he's doing alright. He's pretty much fully grown now, and he's less shy what he used to do when we first got him. If you don't know, Bernard's my cat. He's my little black cat, and sometimes he'll appear in videos and stuff. And he used to be very shy when we first got him, you know, hiding under couches and tables. But we've had him for about a year and a half, 2 years now, and he's a hell of a lot better. Like, he'll just, like, come up here. Sometimes you'll see him in videos where he just jumps on the table and is just around the place. What is going to be interesting, though, is in the next year or so, we're going to be getting an Irish Wolfhound. And if you know what one of them is, let's just say it's one of the biggest dogs out there. So it's going to be interesting to see how Bernard and... we're going to call him Clegane, because Game of Thrones, and yes, I didn't choose it. Oh, no, I didn't choose it, I should say. It's going to be interesting to see how those two interact. But for right now, he's doing well. He's eating well, he's healthy, he's bouncy, it's all good. And then we have, every time you leave a comment, it just screws my head. This is Marshall Martin, I believe, because it's upside down and backways up. But I believe it's Marshall Martin. He says, what's your favourite cheese, and do you like Marmite? Marmite is a delicacy that I actually don't mind. I think it's fine. It's one of those things where it's like, if I have a better option, such as like marmalade, I would take the marmalade over Marmite, but I'm not impartial to it. I'll eat it if need be. I never really understood the you either love it or hate it thing, because I just kind of could leave it or take it. It's not something that's amazing, it's not something that's awful, it's just something you put on bread if you don't really have anything else. A favourite cheese is a tough one. Generally I like mild cheddar, but I think if I was actually going to have to go into the more expensive stuff, brie, good brie, which is not too slimy, not too hard, pretty much in the middle. Being able to eat something like that is wonderful, because you can have it in so many different ways. Like, you can do it as a dressing, you can do it as just by itself, you can spread it on stuff. It's a lot more flexible than other cheeses. I love it how I'm talking about the the adaptations of cheese. But yeah, brie's good. This is Dark Captain. Congrats! How and why did you start War Thunder, and why did you start recording it? Why did I start War Thunder? Well, I used to play World of Tanks, and World of Tanks is a very arcadey tank game, and I played it around the time when gold ammo was still gold ammo, so you had to pay for gold for it. I got to about tier 5 in that game with my British. I really enjoyed getting there, and then I started running into the issues that a lot of World of Tanks players have, especially when you don't pay. Like, I never am premium. I just played my account. I'm not going to tell you the name, because, well, it should be left dormant somewhere. It's not the same as my YouTube or my other name that people know me by, so don't even bother looking. And when it came to it, I hit that tier 5, and I was just ending up against tier 7s. And these tier 7s were just better than me in every way. And if I didn't purchase gold ammo, then I couldn't beat them. I couldn't penetrate them, unless I was aiming particularly well. And to be honest, I didn't really find that fair. A lot of people go on about War Thunder being a very unbalanced system with the +1, -1. World of Tanks back then, and I don't know how it is now, but I know they do a 3-5-7 thing, and if you're in that top tier 3, you pretty much just own the match, which is something you'll find with watching someone like Circumflexes, but back then it was really horrible for the person who was the lowest tier. From there was a bunch of advertisements pretty much over everything I went to. Like, when it came to websites, and they were for War Thunder. It was those typical advertisements where it's like, aim the plane, hit the target, and then if you click it, you actually go to the War Thunder website. So I was like, you know what? War Thunder looks interesting. And then I started doing a bit of reading about it, people, giving their opinions on it. I was like, it's through the launcher, let's just download the launcher, let's see what happens. And this was on my old laptop. And since I was running it on minimum, I could still get about 40 to 60 frames per second, and I was just enjoying it a hell of a lot more than World of Tanks, even though it was just a pure plane game. For me personally, I've always been much more of a propeller head than a tank head, and the reason for that is just because when I was younger, my interest in the Battle of Britain, my interest in all of the air wars, which actually led to the, basically eventually the Germans losing. I always thought in my head that the war was not won on the ground, but in the air, and as you go through history, it seems like air is much more dominant over ground every generation that we go. So therefore, it was much more important to learn about the air battles instead of the tanks. And also, at the time, I thought that the big revolution in engineering was in aircraft, and it kind of was. I mean, at the start of the war, you had very early monoplanes, such as the Spitfire, the Hurricane, the Me-109, and then you compare it to post-war, or even 44-45, and you ended up with jets, and this was a huge leap. But then when you look at tanks, you could probably say the same thing, where at the start of the war, you're looking at, Vickers lights and stuff like that, and by the end of the war, you're looking at crazy things such as the Mouse and all of these crazy designs, especially like IS-3, IS-6. So, they both came a long way in technological advancements, but for me at the time, planes had come more, so I found it more interesting to dig into the different variations of planes that we had. Why did I start recording it? Well, that's interesting. So when I was pretty much at university, this was when I started doing War Thunder content and also doing Medieval 2 Total War and stuff like that very early on, I was doing pretty much 2 degrees at once. And I won't go into the minutiae of it, but pretty much what it meant was I didn't have a lot of time. Like, I saw a lot of my mates at the time, especially in second and third year, they were going out, they were partying, they were having a great time, and they wouldn't have to wake up at 8 the next day and have to, go to classes all day and then come home and do all their homework. They had a lot more free time than I did because I was in the sciences and I was doing pretty much a double major. So what that meant was I didn't have time to pre-drink, go out to a club, come back, do all of that stuff. So I had a very finite time of maybe 1 or 2 hours to myself before I had to go to bed and do the next day. So in that time, I was like, right, I've got to be productive in this time, but I don't want to do anything to do with school because literally, 16 hours a day, that's what I was doing. I was just doing university work. So what I did was every day I sectioned an hour or 2, and after just thinking about what to do, I was like, you know what, why not just try some YouTube stuff? Like, why not just try talking into a screen and seeing how that goes? Because I knew what I wanted to do when I was older, which is, where I'm at now, and it was going to be vocational. It was going to need to be able to talk to a room with confidence, and that was something I really struggled with when I was at university. It was a real issue for me to stand up in front of a class and be able to put my points out there. If it was in front of 3 to 4 to 5 people, I was completely fine, because I could make it into a conversation, I could ask questions, I could do, little verbal tricks, which would help to be able to get through that. But once I was talking to a room, trying to project my voice, trying to get my point across in a way which would make sense to people instead of getting all convoluted, that was hard to do. So I saw YouTube as an opportunity to do that. And if you actually look at the About section, I think it says, it still says the same thing. I've never been a strong speaker, so I'm hoping to use this to help me gain some confidence in my public speaking, and then any positive or negative comments are welcome, since I believe you can only really learn from your mistakes. This whole thing, I stay true to this day. Well, this hasn't changed since the channel has begun, and that's how I feel. I started YouTube to get used to talking for long periods of time about topics which I was interested in, but I needed to learn how to really file down the points of how to talk about it instead of going all over the place, which is sometimes, if you look at some of my earlier videos, which were a lot longer, maybe some of the more ranty ones, it may have felt very much more all over the place. So I used YouTube for that. And the reason why I got into YouTube, it wasn't really because I watched other people and was like, yeah, I want to do that. It was much more because I'd heard from a few mates that was pretty much what they were doing. Like, they knew they wanted to go into some vocational stuff where their confidence was going to be required, so they were doing it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to find some topics I want to talk about, and that's what I'm going to do. And lo and behold, here we are. Noah Brinkman says, how expensive was your PC setup? At the time of buying, which was like 4 years ago now, 4.5, it was about $1,000 US dollars. Nowadays, it's probably a lot lower than that, especially the graphics card, because the graphics card is nowhere near the top standard. Before, it was pretty good. Nowadays, I'm probably going to have to upgrade the PC sometime this year to keep up with what's going on. But right now, I'm still happy with the PC itself. So, yeah, it was about 1,000 USD, not including, delivery and stuff like that, but yeah. And then M3AU says test is greater than ODI. This is in reference to the Australian-Britain cricket team. Oh, yeah, right. I do actually have a recommendation for all of you guys who enjoy cricket out there. I'm sure there aren't a ton of you, but yeah, here we go. Some of you Australians, maybe. So, I don't have a ton of time to listen or watch cricket anymore. Sometimes I listen to it on the radio at work, but that's really about it. And this podcast is called the Long Hop Cricket Podcast. And these guys, they mainly cover England, but they also cover some other stuff. And they do... It kind of feels like they do a video when they feel like it. But there's at least like one a week when you look at them. There's sometimes two a week. And they pretty much just talk about, cricket things when it comes to England and what they're doing and give their opinions. And I actually think it's really fun to listen to. So if you're into cricket, because one of the things that isn't really out there for cricket right now is a podcast setting, which goes on for like an hour. Like the ESPN Cricket Info guys do one which is kind of like that, but it's more general. This is much more focused on the international stuff. And yeah, so yeah, if you like cricket, yeah, go and watch this. And test is greater than ODI. Completely agree with you, M3AU. Or Mew, I suppose that would be, since we have Hello Kitty with an AK. But I agree. I think tests are much better than ODIs, which is why I believe Australians won out the Ashes, even though England absolutely hammered them in the ODIs. Aussie Wirraway says, question, which was the first nation you played in War Thunder? Also, Australian cricket team OP, please nerf on Australian. They are pretty OP, or at least they were against England. I think it was more about England just really in a weird period right now where they're struggling with a few key positions and also a few guys getting older. Like, once like Broad and Anderson leaves... that bowling attack really needs to mature quickly. Otherwise, we're not really going to have a main staple for the frontline bowlers. I mean, I feel like Broad has just been kind of there because nobody is able to take his place. And Anderson, I believe he's going to be there until he retires. But yeah, there's that. And then there's the number 3 position. I don't think Vince played very well. And then you've got the opener alongside Cook, who, Stoneman, I believe, he didn't do great. Milan did good, which is nice to see. Joe Root, I wish he batted 3. It would be nice. Then you have Alistair Cook. I mean, Alistair Cook had like one good score, and everybody seems to think that's okay. I don't think that's okay. I think 450s is better than just one crazy 200, which doesn't really do anything, but yeah. Stephen Smith and some of the other Australians really played really well. To be honest, so all congrats to them, but England really need to sort some of their issues out. Which nation was the first I played? The first I played was Britain, and I was able to get the British Premium, the Gladiator, and yeah, I believe I mainly focused on Britain and Britain and Germany, because I remember getting the early Spitfires and Bf 109s and really enjoying them in arcade. And then I branched out to other nations from there, and now I'm pretty much equal across them. Holy Knight 2000, what's your favorite lineup in War Thunder and why? I'm guessing this is to do with tanks, because you can't really do that in aircraft. You can't really have a lineup. I suppose in arcade, but I don't really play arcade anymore. Used to play it nearly exclusively when I started. When we talk about favorite lineup, which is the one I've enjoyed the most, I've been really enjoying the French at 7.0 when I don't get up tiered. So the AMX 50, the AMX 1390, and the AA. The issue with that lineup is you get up tiered a lot, which is really annoying. So I'd probably have to go for the American 6.7. So you end up with the Duster, the T-34, and then one of the light tanks. Because I've been really enjoying the light tanks with the new scouting mechanics, so something like a T-92 or an M56, I'd probably go M56 over T-92, but you'd have to take it out first. You could not take it out second, because then you'll just die to everything. You could throw the Bulldog in there at 6.3, but nah. If we're talking about powerhouses, I really enjoy the German 5.7, the Tiger E, the Ersatz, and then the Ostwind. That is a really nice lineup, but I think 6.7 Americans is probably where the one I enjoy the most. And the crows, I hope you can hear those crows, because they're right outside my damn window. Next is Frank Bradley. So he says, absolute congrats on that 5k, thank you. Thoughts on Tier 6 Air most likely coming this year? Also, what would each nation's Tier 5 Air premium be? Lastly, what do you think about adding the M2, M3 Bradley IFVs to Tier 6 America, maybe 9.0 plus in light tank or TD line? So let's deal with this in parts. The first part, thoughts on Tier 6 Air most likely coming this year. I'm not exactly sure when it's going to come. I know that they've been testing it since last year, because they talked about it at Gamescom. The word that is going around town right now is that they've been testing the A10 Warthog and the SU-25. And if those are the benchmarks for Rank 6 Air, my god, all I can think is ground forces are going to have some real issues. There's also some game mechanics in Rank 6 Air which are really going to have to get ironed out. So the first lot, which is going to have to be ironed out, is this idea of air-to-air missiles and also air-to-ground missiles. So basically, thank you. So where was I at? So the first thing that's going to have to be ironed out, which I'm sure that they've been testing, is the idea of air-to-air missiles and air-to-ground missiles. Now, this is something that we haven't really had in game before, this idea of lock-on. And since we're looking at stuff like A10s and SU-25s, there are many fighters around that time which did start to have these. Now, they have talked about adding the first era of air-on-air missiles, which are pretty much fire-and-forget missiles. That is interesting, but it gets to a point where it just becomes incredibly defensive on the way you have to fly, and I don't really like that idea. If we're just talking about likely coming this year, I mean, there are a few massive things that, if they are going to put them in a year, it's going to be insane. I don't know how they're going to do it, but you have the ship's release into OBT, you have Rank 6 aircraft, you have the Italian tank tech tree, and then you have World War mode. Now, for me, stuff like that is incredibly important to, the game getting better. World War mode, probably not so much. I don't think the hype is there for it, but the other three are definitely hypey for people in general. From a personal point of view, I really like the idea of World War mode, but it seems like the majority of people care about Rank 6 aircraft and also the expansion of Rank 6 tanks. So, coming this year, I think if we get it this year, it's going to be closer to the end, because I haven't heard a lot about it, to be honest. I've only really heard some, whispers of what they're testing, and generally if that's the case, then they're not too far down with, you know, what's going on, especially since I've only heard about 2 nations so far. Well, also, what would each nation's Tier 5 air premium be? I think the best way to go about it, I know it may sound really, really boring, but I would prefer if they just took an existing rank 5, which wasn't that good, but good enough, and made that a premium. Like a premium version of it, like maybe a certain pilot's skin of it, or something like that. That's the type of premiums I like. So I don't really like stuff like the T114, because now with the new like scout mechanics as well, that is a premium that, just like the RU-251, people are going to complain about forever because you can't get it in the actual tree, so therefore people see it as paying for paying to be better, right? Whereas I think a better way to do it would be to take an existing plane and just copy it over with a different skin. People may not like that, because it's not a new and interesting plane, and yeah, I get it. I just don't want the whole meta of the game to be dictated by a few premiums, which in tanks has happened in the past. We look at the T-29, the Tiger II SLA, and the IS-6, and then the RU-251. These were 4 tanks which dominated the 6-7 meta for a very long time, because they were very good, and they were also all premium. So yeah, I just don't want that happening again. Lastly, what do you think about adding the M2 and M3 Bradley? I really like the Bradley. I believe it has a 25mm on it, which won't be that useful, but it's basically a Baglette Panzer or a better Baglette Panzer for the US. I think it should be added in the light tank line. I don't see it as a tank destroyer. I definitely see it more as a all-combat vehicle. So therefore, in the light tank line would work well. It's quite small with its 25. It doesn't have a lot of armor. I think it would suit perfectly at rank 6 America right now. And it would also mean that we could get other nations really cool little light tanks, like the Scorpion. I feel like the Scorpion would work really well, the British Scorpion, if we started to add in something like Bradley's. I would love them to do an update, which was just an update to light tanks and armored cars and stuff like that, so each nation gets them at every tier, or at least around like specific BRs, like maybe one every 1.0 BR, just so you know, it kind of sorts it out. The next one is from Dalaroo68. Congrats on the 5k, well done, thank you. I do enjoy your work and comments. Sorry about the test matches. The Poms did play bad, but an awesome one-day result. Yeah, I agree with that. Even being an Aussie, I still like a close match. Pneumonia, wow, not nice, but good to see you're on the mend. Cheers, good reading. Thank you, Dalaroo. 68, that's very kind of you. If you want to know some book recommendations, I did them in that video. So, if you want to, you know, go see what I've been reading over the last month or so, while I've been ill, then yeah, go and have a look at that. I am feeling a lot better now, so yeah. Normal content's pretty much resumed now. I am adding to the schedule, like 3 videos a day. With the War Thunder stuff, this today is going to be basically the War Thunder video, because it's going to take me a long time to record. But generally, you know, we're going to stick to the 3 videos. Subnautica, then another game, then War Thunder. And that's what we're doing, so yeah. But thank you very much. Shade E says, will you try Postscriptum? P.S. Congratulations on the 5k, love your channel. Been addicted to it since I found it. Well, very, very nice of you. That's very kind. And then Postscriptum. If you don't know what Postscriptum is, it's like a realistic World War II first-person shooter. Very much in the same vein as Arma. If you want to have a look at some videos, I believe Slick B has done some. My biggest issue with games like Arma is unless you have a massive squad, you're just going to get rolled by another massive squad. I never really got into Arma because it was very hard if you didn't have a lot of players around you to be able to get to a point where you weren't just dying over and over and over again. And if Postscriptum is like that, then yeah, I don't really have a lot of time for it. If it is much more small squad base, I think it will be fun. and it also depends on how useful the infantry versus tank versus aircraft, if there is aircraft is, or if they're just AI aircraft. I have tried to sign up for the alpha or the beta, whatever it's stage at, but I haven't got a code. So I'll give it a chance when if I can get a code, and if not, then I'll just wait and look at the gameplay. But for me, right now, it just seems way too similar to Arma, and I just have too many bad experiences in Arma to say, yes, I want to play this game, even though it is World War II. I still really enjoy stuff like Red Orchestra 2. Like, I want to do a single-player campaign playthrough, since you can't get the single-player anymore, and I actually have it on Steam. But it just runs like ass, so hopefully Postscriptum should run a bit better. I believe it runs on the Unity engine, which means that it should run well. Is there RB dying, in your opinion? No, I don't think it is. I still can easily get into matches. The only ones I struggle with sometimes is certain tiers of bombers, and that's just because of the limit on bombers at those tiers. The biggest issues that AirIB is running into right now is all of the maps that they added in, such as like the Normandy map and the Advance to the Rhine map. They're all pretty much the same with no real differences, maybe one slight small difference. It seems like they've fixed the Normandy map so it's not over in 5 minutes, so that's kind of nice. But the main issue is there's no crazy or no massive difference between them. They're all very similar. You have tanks on one side, pillboxes on the other. There needs to be more mechanics added in, and there's been many videos where I've talked about this stuff. Like, maybe I can find them right now just for you, because I've done a bunch of videos talking about like different things that they could add to it, and then they could test them out. Yeah, an argument for AI paratrooper objectives. Like, I did a bunch of videos on this. I think I did like a new vision or something. Like, if I just type in new, this probably won't work because there's too many of them. But yeah, I've done a bunch of videos looking into like what we could do with the game, like to try and enhance AirRB in general, because I feel like it does need a bit of a kick up the arse. Oh, railways is probably another one. Like, if I type in railway, let's just see. Yeah, implementing trains and railways. This was a while back, 7 months ago. But yeah, I've talked about different ideas to add to AirRB to try and help it, and my main premise is, why not just try it in enduring confrontation in simulator battles? And if it works there, why not try and transport it into some of the things in RB? So some of the maps in RB. To do that. Also, I like the idea of realistic battles taking enduring confrontation and making that the main game mode. I've seen a lot of people talk about that, and I thought that I like that idea, where EC becomes RB. I really don't care. I know this may annoy a few people, but I really don't care about simulator mode in War Thunder. In my opinion, there are plenty of games out there, if you are committed to simulator, that are just better than War Thunder and always will be. Battle of Stalingrad is one of these, and it's much better to just go and drop a few pennies on a game like that if you want the full simulator experience. If you want it in a game like War Thunder, I feel like it would just be much better to just go and play another flight sim instead of War Thunder. And, you know, the simulator community in general is quite small in War Thunder, and therefore it can't be a high priority, so why not chuck the resources at realistic RB and make that into the enduring confrontation? I think that would be fun, in my opinion. Use that as a building block, and then add all of these interesting concepts that people have made videos on. The next one, do you have a War Thunder squadron? If so, can subscribers join? The squadron I'm a part of right now is called ANFO, A-N-F-O, and the reason why it's named after that is because it is named after an explosive. It isn't open to subscribers, and that's basically because it's a group of mates that I've had for a very long time, and we don't really want to open it up to other people. It's our squadron, and that's how it is. Maybe in the future I would make like a TEC squadron or something, but that would only be if all of my mates left the game and never played it anymore. And, we talked about other things and not really War Thunder. But for right now, no. There isn't a squadron that subscribers can join. If someone wants to create one and do like a community one, yeah, go ahead. But for me personally, I don't really want to get involved in that. Because I still want to explore like the competitive side of everything. And I think with Anfo, that can be done, especially the historical competitive stuff. Riley Kibbe, what or who got you into YouTube? Pretty much myself and some mates. Some mates told me to have a look at a few videos. We watched people like Ray William Johnson and all that, and I was like, yeah, I can't do this. Like, I'm I'm not energetic enough. I can't put on a face. A lot of people, whether it be actors or whether it be people on YouTube, where they're incredibly energetic all the time, or at least they seem it in their videos, because you can cut it and you can take the best parts and you can feel all happy and, hey, let's go, hey, how you doing, what's that, oh, isn't that awesome, look at that over there, isn't that amazing, and all of this stuff, and that's just not me. Like, I could maybe do that for half an hour and then I would just hate myself. And I feel like a lot of the time, if you look at a lot of these YouTubers who used to do that or still do, they get burnt out hard. So I was looking for more of just channels which talked, and there are a few podcast channels where I started enjoying just listening to them instead of watching them. The Richard Lewis, who does the Richard Lewis Show, I Hate It Here, By the Numbers, which is focused on CSGO, but the Richard Lewis Show is much more of a general funny news show, and that to me was really interesting. And then you had Unfiltered from Chanman V, which I really enjoyed, which was an old StarCraft show in the time. So yeah, I generally like that idea, and at some point I'd love to do some kind of weekly podcast thing. The issue is just getting people together and also getting topics together, because not stuff in War Thunder doesn't happen every week. Like, sometimes you'll have like a few news articles and then that will be it. So putting that together, also with time zones and stuff like that, yeah, you've got to, it's got to be, it's a challenge to try and do it. I've tried to do it in the past, but it just hasn't worked out. Because I think 3 people is the perfect number for that stuff. 4 is generally too many. There's always one person who gets cut off. So I just need 2 more people and a dedicated like hour or 2 every week. But that's really hard to do. So yeah. And then what else did it say? Where do babies come from? I believe, Riley, we discussed last time, they come from Indonesian workshops. It was either that or Vietnamese, but yeah. So if you ever want a child, you better send a letter to them. Bruce Blanton, congrats on the 5k, thank you, sir. James Carr, congrats, sir, thank you. Mike McCollum, I love that name. When do you think we're going to get Italian tanks? So from what I've heard, and from what has been told to me, now understand, this is all speculation, this is not official, this is just my opinion, and from what I've heard from other people. So, first off the bat, they have been working on Italian tanks for a decent amount of time. They have a lot of them ready. The issues they're running into is finding enough tanks. And this is something I discussed in a few videos, where I've talked about Italian tanks. If you're looking for just full-on Italian tanks, it's kind of hard to get 30 together, especially when you start talking about rank 3 and rank 4 vehicles. If we're talking about rank 1, rank 2, there's plenty of them. There's tons of them. If you talk about rank 5, there's a few examples. Rank 6, there's some really good, pretty modern Italian tanks. That all makes sense. But that period of rank 3 and rank 4 is where they really struggle. And if you look at the French tech tree, if you look at the Italian aircraft tree? No, not Italian aircraft tree. The French aircraft tree, if you look at the Japanese tank tree, the similar holes have been filled with other nations' vehicles. So for the Japanese, you got some American vehicles. For the French air, you got some American vehicles. For the French tanks, you got some American vehicles once again. Now, I don't want that in my rank 3s and 4s, but what we're probably going to end up in is a bunch of Italian tree being German in the rank 3 and rank 4 slots, and that to me is not interesting, and I hope they're trying to figure out that issue. So because they have that issue, it's been postponed for now, and they're trying to work on those, and once they've got that sorted, then it'll come out. Now understand, as I said before, this is only what I've heard. Do not take it as gospel, just take it as what I've heard from separate people with the issue. And these are people who have generally been correct when it's come to other things that has happened in War Thunder when it comes to updates and stuff. So I wouldn't call them reliable sources, but I would just say that they have not been wrong in the past when they've given me information. Simple as that, really. So, yeah, hopefully they come out this year. I really hope they do, because I like new vehicles. And as long as they don't go all gung-ho on the Germans being in rank 3 and 4, I think we could have a really nice tech tree. Or the Americans again, since we have the M26 Pershing. Because, I mean, the Italians use the M60, they use the M46, M47. So, yeah, we're probably going to get those things, which is annoying, but it is how it is. Wesha says, what peripherals do you use? Well, I believe that's supposed to say peripherals. I'm not sure that's how you write it, but that's fine. I have some of them that I've set up. So I work off a 24-inch screen, which is why you may see really small black bars at the sides of my videos when you full screen them. Yes, I've just let you know that. If you haven't noticed it before, I really apologize, but that is how it is. But for my peripherals, so my headset is this one. There we go. It is a Sennheiser Game 1 Open. I've had this for like 4 years now. The only issues I've run into is if you see this bit here, that this bit is like torn slightly, so some of the foam has come out, but everything else is fine with this. Oh, apart from the microphone, like, the microphone is slightly off, like this, and I've just realized I'm gonna have to blank out part of that screen. Well done, me. But yeah, it's pretty much this one here. And yeah, it's acoustic PC headset gaming. It's really expensive, but I've used this thing for 4 years now, had no issues with it. Had an issue slightly with the audio jack, but that's actually an issue with the computer, not the thing itself. The audio quality on the mic isn't the best, but I just use this. The mic itself that I use is just a generic studio mic that I picked up from a mate who had a guitar for quite cheap, but I'm sure it's a lot more expensive than it may seem to be. The next thing, this is my keyboard I use. I actually got it as part of a deal with some of the components of the computer. This is the Acer gaming keyboard. It's pretty much standard. There's nothing, it doesn't light up or anything like that. There's nothing crazy about it, it's just a keyboard. It works really well, it fits my hands really well, and I like the buttons at the top. The other one is, of course, the Acer mouse. It has 2 buttons on it, it also has 3 settings of mouse sensitivity, and it also has some weights in the back. So if I show you real quick, let's just make sure I line it up with the camera. They're gonna fall out. So you see how this, there we go. So it has weights in the back of it, so you can take the weights out, making the mouse itself a little bit lighter if you want. I generally have quite heavy arms, like muscle-wise, so I don't want to make it lighter. I like how it feels, right? So yeah, I like the Acer mouse. I haven't had any issues with it. I don't. More buttons may be nice on the side, but that's really about it. Visky252, good old Visky. Do you smoke catnip? No, not yet. Maybe one day. And then you're welcome. Anytime, Bisky. Yogurich, 28. Do you know the way? My brother. Of course I know the way. That was an interesting meme when it came out. Kind of came out of nowhere. I enjoyed it though. Scuzzy Skeeter, I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than the "Don't Touch My Spaghetti" one, which I just didn't get. But the Ugandan Knuckles I thought was good. Scuzzy Skeeter, are you actually Canadian, and will you do more AirRB videos? When this was posted, this was before I started doing some argument for specific planes. I will do more AirRB videos, especially reviews of aircraft that are around the place. There is a few I still want to do. I do want to do a F3D, my initial impressions. I don't like doing full reviews on jets because, first of all, I feel like there are better players out there that you can ask, and also, at the same time, it just takes too long to modify them to make it interesting for me. And since I don't really enjoy jets, I think more general videos on them is a better idea. But yeah, of course I will. French Gamer Cat, congrats on the 5k. I have a few questions. What is your favourite plane, tank in War Thunder? Do you have a job rather than YouTube? How was your childhood? Some tips on how to grow on YouTube, tips for War Thunder, thanks and congrats again. So, favourite plane and tank? Plane is the Hurricane. Really enjoy the Hurricane. I have pretty much got like 10-1 KDs in all of the Hurricanes in game, apart from the 21, because I don't think I've played that much. But yeah, the Hurricane, one of my favourite planes in real life, massively underappreciated in real life, and then in game, it is once again underappreciated. It is a really good plane to face, especially the Germans in. Tank in War Thunder is a bit harder. I mean, the easy choice is the Jumbo, just because it's really easy to use. But for me personally, I think my favourite is either the AMX-13 with the 75mm, or it's the T-25 American with the 90. It's a medium tank with the Pershing 90mm on it, and it's really fun just facing tigers in it, and panthers. So either one of those works really well. Do you have a job? Yep, I teach, and that's as far as I'm going into it. How was your childhood? I think it was pretty much normal. I read a lot. I read a lot of history, and read a lot of stuff I probably shouldn't have read, like... I read 1984 when I was really young, Animal Farm, the Gulag Archipelago, and I read them when I was around about 10. I can't remember why I did. I think somebody just recommended me them, just because they'd do me well through life. And yeah, I read them again when I was older, and I understood them a lot more, especially compared to what was going on, so yeah. Yeah, I read a lot of science books. I read a lot of political books. I read a lot of World War II books, and I started to like get into the head of some of the leaders of it, especially reading their memoirs and stuff like that, and found that really interesting. I kind of went off the ball, like 16 to 18, but I got back on it once I got to university. 16 to 18 was a weird period. I didn't really... it was definitely I don't know what I'm doing, I don't understand anything, why do people do shit, weirdly. I couldn't understand why people would do things in a certain way instead of a way which was just more fruitful. And, a lot of it comes down to it's either the way they've done it for years or because there's another reason that I don't know about. So yeah, that was something I had to start understanding, and by the time I was 18, I was like, well, you know what, I won't even question it, I'll just do what I should do, and pull myself up, instead of trying to understand why other people are just doing weird shit, in my opinion. Some tips on how to grow to YouTube. I'm probably not the best person to come to for that, since it's taken me a while to grow, but the main thing is just regular content, to be honest. post a video and then wait months and then post another one and then so on. You've got to do it either one or two a week or daily and get into the groove. Like if you have work, come home from work, spend an hour doing a YouTube video. If you don't work, then spend an hour doing a YouTube video a day, and then the rest of it either look for work or do your schoolwork, you know? Just dedicate a time where you're going to do the YouTube stuff. And that can be hard to do, especially if you have family and friends. That's something that I've struggled to deal with, but for nowadays, I've pretty much got it nailed down. So yeah, that is something. Tips for War Thunder, look at your map. That's the main tip I give everyone. Look at your damn map, especially in ground forces, since scouts have come out. Look at your damn map. That's all I'll say about that. So that's all the YouTube questions. We're 50 minutes in. Now let's get to this stuff. Just wait. What is this stuff? Oh my god. Alright. Anyway, I asked some... if you don't know about the Discord server, this is the TEC hub, which is the European Canadian hub. There's 3 admins on here. Me, Rex, and Taz. We're all very friendly people. Generally, I'm just want to make sure if this is showing up. Yeah, it is. We're very friendly people. So, you know, pretty much anything goes unless you are really annoying. If you... Well, I can't show you it, but we have a banned list, and the only person who is banned is the same person 3 times, who, let's just say, if you talk to people like Awesome, such as this guy, who is another quite large member of the War Thunder community, he'll tell you exactly who it is, since he seems to be infamous for just being an asshole, and sending threats and all of that. So yeah, everybody is friendly on this server. It's probably the best way to hit me up, because generally I hang out in the speaking lobbies, and if you just want to, you know, message me, you know, my comms are open on Discord, and there is a link in the description to if you want to see it. So I asked, you know, going to record a Q&A today, do you have any questions? So John says, how are you today? I'm doing alright. Went to a British shop, which is something you don't really see a lot in Canada. Wait, did I? Yeah, no, I didn't answer this bit. Am I actually Canadian? I'm married to a Canadian. I don't know if that makes me Canadian. I'm still British. Like, technically I have, you know, dual citizenship, when I want it, so, but no, I was born in England, so I'm technically British. Anyway, let's get back to the other stuff. How am I? I'm good. Yeah, I believe you did. This is Murat Ayoruk. I'm just gonna call you Murat. What do you think about the BR of the Beglett Panzer 57? I think it was designed to counter, well not counter, but be the German equivalent of the M60A1 Rise, so its BR is completely fine to me. I don't think it should be lowered. I mean, it has the best ATGMs in game, and yes, its main gun isn't that useful, but it has a dual role. The dual role being it can go after aircraft at the same time, and generally it will be able to pen the side of pretty much everything that it faces, and even if you're not at the side and you're at the front, you can just annoy the hell out of medium tanks. It is never going to be the premium MBT that the KPZ is, but it shouldn't be. It's a support vehicle, and you're going to need them in War Thunder. Not everything can be top tier, you know, the best of the best, and I think the Beglett where it is completely fine. What would you like to see in 1.77 from Awesome? If you don't know who Awesome is, look him up on War Thunder Live. He's the only guy I'm actually subscribed to, because he makes quality content, and he also does War Thunder live events for people, such as the tank show and air shows and stuff, so yeah. I would definitely say give him a look, because he makes some quality stuff. What would you like to see in 1.77? Well, it seems with the Leopard 2K we're going to get an expansion of rank 6, and I don't know what else, maybe ships OBT, but for me, what I would personally like to see is, first of all, a continuation of adding more planes to the British bomber line. That would be nice, and then Adding armored cars and light tanks to all tiers of each nation. So yeah, just do that basically, and that would be kind of nice. But practically speaking, probably more rank 6 stuff, and probably ships in 1.77. It depends when it comes out. But since, if we look at the track record of when the update comes out after the start of the year, we're looking at March or April. Generally March, so we're probably going to get ships OBT, but I would prefer to see armored cars and light tanks. Donut Baker Chef, what country do you think is the best to play after the next patch? Well, the thing is, since the next patch isn't out, all I can go on is what we have right now. And if we're talking about ground vehicles, top tier is going to be, if it stays how it is and we don't have any other additions, Germany's going to be the best at top tier. Just because of the Leopard 2K. I know a lot of people are saying that it's overhyped and everything, but it is literally just a better version of an MBT or a KPZ, and that's what needs to be there to fight the T64A, which in a lot of people's minds is top dog. So therefore, yeah, Germany getting through to higher ranks. If we're talking about anything else, when it comes to ground forces, I've really enjoyed the French. I can't really, you know, everything rank 3 and 4 French is fun. Rank 1 and 2, you're probably looking at American is probably the most fun. So yeah, and maybe Germany for rank 2. Aircraft, Aircraft's a weird one, because it's been out for so long. I still would say the British lines are the funnest, just because I really enjoy the bombers, and also the fighters. There's a lot of different fighters out there, which are a hell of a lot of fun. So, and you have like a little bit of everything when it comes to Britain, so I'd probably say Britain. Murat says again, do you think Gaijin will give the Germans the ME262HG? Eventually they probably will. If we talk about my personal opinion, I don't want to see it anywhere near this damn game. But if they do add it, then it would be in the same vein as something like an R2Y2 or the Horton we have in game. So it would definitely fit with some of the other vehicles that we have. I really wish it wasn't, though. I really wish that it wasn't added. But with the trajectory that we have, then yeah, it probably will be added. What would be a list of tanks and planes that you would love to see? I think what I'm gonna do is, you know how Tiger Frost did that video of all the stuff he wants to see this year? I feel like I'm gonna do something like that, but it's gonna take me like a year to do, so I'm gonna have to work out how to do it. But yeah, that's something I will do in the future instead of just listing them all. And John also says, what do you think Boats Plus needs to be good? I have literally no opinion, as I've made it very clear in many of my ship videos. Ships is the least interesting part of World War II for me. I'm not a ship guy. I am a plane guy who has a real interest also in tanks, but boats is just, I don't find it interesting. If I was Gaijin and I would reverse a year, I would keep with the small boats. So therefore, you could have this combined arms of tanks, small boats, and planes. But it seems like a lot of people want big ships. And I suppose if we get battleships and aircraft carriers, people are going to be really enjoying it for about a week. And then they're going to be like, well, this is boring because it's just me shooting another battleship from 20k away. They need a way to get rid of the AI on the anti-air, so that actually gives planes a chance against these large ships as well. That would be what I do. What do you think about the IS-6? In its current form, it's completely fine. Now that it's been, you know, fixed with its turret mantlet, I never really had an issue with it when it was a lower BR because I was mainly playing British at the time, but I can see it being incredibly annoying for German tankers, but I never had an issue with it playing Britain and America. I don't really see a lot of them nowadays, to be honest. The most matchups I play are against the British or the Germans at that tier, so yeah, there isn't many IS-6s running about. I think it's fine though, in its current state, it seems completely fine. Even before, I didn't think it was as bad as something like an RU-251, because the RU-251 skill ceiling is a hell of a lot higher, which is something I've talked about a lot. What is your opinion on bigger ships, battleships, cruisers, aircraft carriers, and so on? I think they're a terrible idea, because I've talked about before. I like the idea of having combined arms. So the idea of having a map like Hokkaido and having tanks, ships, and planes on them all at the same time, I don't think you can do that if you have battleships and cruisers flying about. That just doesn't seem to be something that could work. So yeah, that's very sad. When do you think updates 1.77 will drop, or at least its dev servers? Generally, this update drops around March. So probably early March we'll see dev servers, and then middle of March we'll see the update itself. Hopefully 2 dev servers. I believe they only did 1 last time. What light tanks they could add in places that need them or could be. I really want to do a separate video on this, but to give you a taste, stuff like the Scorpion for the British, the Bradley as talked about before, the SB-1C for the Germans, stuff like that. You could add. Will you make a wish list for this year? Yeah, I will. Just like just like John said, and yeah, it's echoed by Murat. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do a video on it. It may be more informal like this one because it's a lot to get through, but I still think it'll be a good video. And then then we start actually getting into the conversations. What changes need to happen before War Thunder is esports ready? It has to be interesting to watch to the casual viewer. Right now it isn't, just like World of Tanks isn't. You need somehow to take a guy who watches sports and be able to integrate him into watching War Thunder. Just like how League of Legends or Counter-Strike, you can not really know what each of the characters do, but when you see a big fight, you see all the cool abilities and all of this stuff, and you hear the commentators going crazy, and there's this big like conglomeration of what's going on. And then, you know, there's an obvious winner. In War Thunder, it's a big mixture of 1-on-1s or 2-on-1s and who gets a slight advantage. And then, so you need the commentators to explain what's going on. And that is not easy to do from a War Thunder point of view to an average person who doesn't play the game. So it needs to be more accessible to the casual market, to be honest. And at the same time, with that said, it just needs to be more interesting to watch. I don't know how to explain it, but from my point of view, I find it really boring to watch. Just like, I tried to watch a World of Tanks tournament, and it was just incredibly boring to watch. For the first 5 minutes of the map, nothing happened, and then there was like an instant, right, we're going here, and then it was all over in 2 minutes because one team got a slight advantage and went on. So yeah, that's pretty much what War Thunder is as well, and I don't find that interesting. How could War Thunder attract more people other than their horrible Google ads? Right, I'll tell you exactly what they do. You remember when they did insane cinematics? I don't know where they're published. They're probably published on here. Like, these ones are good, like the La Resistance trailer. But you remember the cinematics they did? Where are they? I could probably just go to most popular, and they'll show up there. Yeah, like Victory is Ours, Heroes trailer, The Battle is On trailer, all of these. Look, these were nearly 3 years ago now. That's a long time. Like, why not make a new one of these? Because especially the Heroes trailer was so good. Victory is Ours, also really good. Battle is On, the Battle is On, the way, like, I'll play it. Like, you know, they show the B-17 being made, they show the Panzer dying, the Panther, sorry, the B-17 going down, then it cuts to black, and then you've got the guy talking, and then it's basically talking about, like, oh, we're going down, but can we do something? Can we come back and, you know, take on the battlefield? The B-17 has lost its wing. Hopefully the B-17 in-game gets an updated model. That would be really nice. But look at this guy. He's like, you know what? Fuck everything. I'm gonna blow up. right? And then it reverses in a wonderful way. Alright, let's just go back. See? And then instead, he fires. He takes out the BF-109. And then there's this guy. He's down and out. His Panther is screwed, but he's like, you know what? Screw it. My carcass is gonna go batter someone in the face. I'm gonna take out an M16. You don't have to live. Oh god, the M16's taking out some D13s. You know, look how wonderful this trailer is. It's absolutely beautiful. It's amazingly made. And we just need more like this. Like, maybe when ships come out, maybe they make a trailer like this again. But we haven't really had this type of trailer in an incredibly long time, which makes me very, very sad. So yeah, just stuff like that. That's what they need to do. Let's just go back. How could Wathan... oh yeah, already done that. Did Bush do 9/11? No, I think it was definitely Randy Savage. Do you think Germans are under a huge disadvantage because of the lack of good vehicles above Tier 3? No, I don't think so. I've talked about this many times in the past. I did a video... I'll try and find it. The video was basically talking about the different... Right, is my mic still working? Because that cut it off last time, yeah. So the video was talking about before... let's see, what do I type in? It was talking about how to play German vehicles at different tiers. Is it this one? It was a Tiger video. Like, it may have been... Let's just type in German, see if that helps. But basically, somebody asked, like, you know, I'm struggling with the Tiger. How do I play German vehicles? And I did, like, a whole video. Here it is. Email answers, the German conundrum. So, this one is where I talked about... Let's see the likes and dislikes, because that'll be entertaining. Oh, 41-2, nice. But this video is basically talking about how to play Germans at different tiers. So 5.7, 6.7, and 4.0, 4.3, the main German tiers, and how to be able to be useful in them. I don't think the Germans are in a place where they are really at a bad disadvantage compared to other nations. I really think it is a gameplay point of view, and instead of just saying, oh, the Germans are bad, maybe the playstyle of the Germans have to change, instead of just doing the same thing over and over again and wondering why, when you walk into the wall of spikes, you keep getting hit with the wall of spikes, instead of trying to go around the wall of spikes, you know what I mean? And then we have a whole thing with people talking about it. Then we have Time Trap, discussion on the 76 Jumbo being up to 6.7 90% of the time. That's just because the majority of players are playing around 6.7. So if you play a lot of 6.0, you're going to get up to 6.7 more. If you play a lot of 4.7, you're going to get up to 5.7. It's just, it all depends on the popularity of the vehicles. That's another vehicle I did. Something that Gaijin can never change. The desire for people to win in games, so they're going to be drawn towards the best vehicles, and the best vehicles being at certain BRs, so other vehicles get dragged into those matches. So yeah, that's just something that happens, unfortunately. And then we get into some more talking. Also, what do you think Sonic Jets will come like the What do you think Sonic Jets will come like the F-100? The F-100 Widowmaker? I want the F-100 Super Sabre in game. I think it will make it once ranked 6 aircraft are here. I still want to see what they do with this air-to-air stuff. That's my main issue, and also air-to-ground. Because when I look at these ranked 6 ground forces, air forces, I don't see how the ground forces even have a chance against them. So we'll have to see. Super Pershing down tier? No, it just needs its armor fixing. And every time there's an update, people tell me its armor's fixed. It ain't fixed. It never is. So yeah, they need to fix it. Is it as good as the T-34 at its BR? No. Is it better than a Pershing though? Yeah, I think it is. So putting it at 6.3 doesn't really make sense. You could, if you did put it at 6.3 though, you could make a really good lineup. The Pershing, Super Pershing, and the Bulldog. That's actually really nice. Do we have any others? I don't think so. Like, everybody else is just talking about random crap, so yeah. If I missed any of your questions in this, I apologize, but thank you all for your questions on both the questions video and also the other video. So thank you for that. And if you do have any more questions, please either post them on the Discord, which is probably the easiest place to get a hold of me, and also, if you don't do that, just post them in the comments. I do also read them as well. But overall, thank you for watching, and once again, thank you for the 5,000 subscribers. Hopefully, this grows more, and I'm sure it will. And the main thing is, I really enjoy just reading the comments. It's always fun to do that. But anyway, hope you have a wonderful day, and also happy Valentine's Day. Hope you have that special someone, and if you don't, then, well, just enjoy yourself. Love yourself. That's the main thing you have to do. I'll see you next time.